Hello and welcome to Professor Pincushion. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make a tea towel. We're going to be adding a contrasting panel plus doing some decorative stitching. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's take a look at our supplies. So what we have here is going to be our main towel fabric. You actually only need a half yard of this fabric, and I'm using 100% linen for my tea towel, but you can also use 100% cotton if you want. Then I have a contrasting fabric. This is 100% cotton. It's just quilter's cotton that I'm using. And you really don't need very much. You can pretty much get away with a scrap for this one. You just need to make sure that it's big enough to get 17 by 4.5 inches. Next, I'm going to have my embroidery stabilizer. There's many different types. You can use whatever one you're comfortable with. This one here is the one that you stick on your fabric and then you're able to wash it away. You need some straight pins. You need some sort of fabric marker or chalk, scissors, sewing gauge. I have all-purpose thread, and then I have embroidery thread right here. This is for the decorative stitching. And also for my decorative stitching, I'm going to go ahead and use a wing needle. And this you can just get at the fabric store in the needle selection. This is going to be for our hem stitching. So the only thing not shown here is our sewing machine and our iron and ironing board. Let's go over what we need to cut out. So out of your main fabric, which I'm using for my linen, is going to be the main towel fabric. I need to cut a piece that's 32 by 17 inches. Out of my contrasting fabric, it needs to be 4.5 by 17 inches. And then I have these strips. Now this is my embroidery stabilizer, and I'm just cutting 1 inch width strips. Now it comes on a sheet, so I'm just cutting several of them to use for when I get ready to embroider. First step is you're going to take your contrasting strip of fabric. We're going to flip it so it's wrong side facing up. Now you'll see we have the 2 long sides and then 2 short sides. So on the long sides, you're going to turn over 1/4 inch and you're going to pin and you're going to press it. Here's my contrasting piece with 1/4 inch folded in on both sides. And I've already pressed that. So now we're going to go back to our towel fabric. What you're going to do is from the short end, so you just pick one short end. This is the 17 inches and then this is the 32 inches. So I just picked one side. You're going to go up 3.5 inches from the end. And you're going to mark this on the right side of your fabric. So from this end, I'm going to go up 3.5 inches. And I'm going to mark it with my marker. And I'm just going to go all along the edge. So I'm going to use it as a guideline for the next step. Take your contrasting panel, place it right side up, and you're matching one folded edge here with the marks that you just made. I'm going to make sure that the raw edges line up as well, because it's going to go from one end of the towel to the other end. Once everything is lined up, you can go ahead and transfer your pins from the contrasting piece to go through the towel fabric as well. After you have your contrasting panel pinned to your towel fabric, both on the bottom and the top, what we're going to do is take it to the machine and you're going to top stitch right along the edge, both on this side and on this side up here. When doing the top stitch, I'm just using regular all-purpose thread for the top and bottom threads of my machine. And I'm also making sure that I'm stitching pretty close to my folded edge right here. So that's what's going to keep our contrasting panel on our main towel fabric. Also, don't forget to backstitch both at the beginning and the end of your stitch. Now I'm going to prep to do my decorative stitching. So remember I cut these 1 inch strips out of my stabilizer. I have the sticky kind. So all I'm going to do is take each section and I'm going to stick it right alongside my contrasting panel. So it's not actually getting on top of this, it's just butting up right next to it. So I'm going to do that the whole length of the way, and then I'm also going to do it on the top part as well, or wherever you want to do your decorative stitching. Next, choose the decorative stitch that you would like to use. Because I'm using a wing needle for hem stitching, the best stitches for me to use on my machine are these 3 stitches here. 16 through 18. You really want to pick a stitch in which the needle is going to go through the fabric more than one time for each hole. But if you want, you can just use a regular decorative stitch like one of these, either with a wing needle, or you can just use a regular needle as well. I switched my machine to embroidery thread, and I also changed my needle to the wing needle here. To make sure that my stitches stay straight, the edge of my foot is going just to butt up against the edge of my contrasting fabric right here. So that way I can make sure that my stitches are going to be straight. So I'm going to do it on each side of the contrasting panel. And you want to keep a light hand here. You're not trying to force your fabric through the machine. Just let it do its thing, because it's going to go back and forth depending on what type of stitch you're doing. And you're just guiding it just to make sure it's straight. You can see my lovely decorative stitch up here on top and on bottom. Next, you're going to follow your packaging directions for removing your stabilizer. Now we're going to finish the raw edges of our tea towel. So what you're going to do on each of the long edges, so you have two long edges and then you have two short edges on the towel. So on each of the long edges, you're going to fold up a 1/2 inch, and you're going to pin it, and you're going to do that the whole length of the long edges. You're going to press it. We'll say I finished pressing it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come back, and because of the pressing, you should have a crease. So this raw edge is now going to go to the crease, and then you're going to refold it. So you're doing a 1/2 inch, then you're folding that in half, and then you end up with a folded 1/4 inch edge. So you do both the long edges. You're just going to pin it into place in the same manner. And then now you're going to do the two short edges. So after I do this edge and the other long edge, now I'm going to do the same thing. So I fold it a 1/2 inch, I press it, then I take the raw edge, tuck it under, and it ends up being a 1/4 inch. So then by the end of this, your whole edges are going to be pinned into place, and they should be no raw edges because they're all tucked under. After you finish folding, you should have something that looks like this, and you can go ahead and stitch it as is if you want. Or if you want to make a mitered corner, you can do that as well, and it'll look a little neater. So I'm going to remove my pins. This is after I've pressed it. And you should have some creases as you open up this corner. I just used my marker so it would be a little bit more obvious on the type of creases that you'll have. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the corner. And I'm going to cut off the corner from the edge here of this rectangle and then going across here, or square, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just cutting off this corner right here. Okay. And then in this corner, I'm going to take what remains of the corner and I'm going to fold it to this pinpoint right here where these bottom lines intersect. And then all I'm going to do is just refold where I had my original fold lines on each side. So I'm going to refold it, pin it, and then when you finish, you should have a corner that looks something like this. Lastly, all we need to do is sew on the wrong side right along our fold line here. And I went ahead and switched back to my all-purpose thread and my regular needle. And you're just using a regular straight stitch. So you want to get as close to this folded edge as you can on all 4 sides, and then your tea towel will be finished. Alright, so the tea towel is now complete, and I went ahead and folded it so it's ready to use. As you can see, this is a quick and easy project, and it's easy to personalize, so you can use it for yourself or you can give it as a gift. Make sure to check out our other videos and visit ProfessorPincushion.com to view our complete library with well over 150 sewing video tutorials. New tutorials are released regularly, so make sure to subscribe to be notified of the next release. Thanks for watching!